everybody, welcome back to Harris Family Adventures. We are on to our next part of our Italy trip with Gate 1 Travel. Sorry, we are both still getting over COVID as well. So today, if you've been following along, these are all part of our Italy playlist. You'll know that we were in Florence, and then this was the day that we were headed to Rome. So we were in Venice for 2 nights, we were in Florence for 2 nights, and then we end in Rome, and we were there for 3 nights. So as always, we have our notes. I have Reese, he was my fellow traveler. It was the 2 of us, so we'll talk about our experiences. Again, since we were going with Gate 1 Travel, they had arranged every time we left a hotel to have our bags out with a special baggage tag, and then they would pick those up, they would get them into the bus, and then we would just take our carry-ons with us. So for that morning, we had to have our bags out by 7:40, which was later than other days, like when we left Venice. When we left Venice, they had to be out at 6:40, so this was a lot nicer. And then we left at 8:05. Also, if you watched our Florence videos, you know our hotel, the location wasn't fantastic, but it did mean that our bus was fairly close by. Our bus was able to make it to the motel. So, I mean, that's pros and cons. It was a 3-hour ride because first we were going to Assisi. Is that how you say it?
Assisi.
One of those two. We probably should have looked that up. Anyway, it was a 3-hour ride, but we did stop. So we've talked about our bus that we got to use, and it did have a bathroom on board, but they said it was emergencies only. So I don't think we ever used it because you had to like let the bus driver know. So I don't think anyone in our tour group ever used it. And anytime we had a bus ride over probably an hour and a half, they provided some kind of stop at a gas station. Along the way, our tour manager, Francesca, had been giving us more information like she usually did on our bus rides, using the microphone and the speakers about just different cultural information and historical information. And she told this story about a woman who'd worked in a factory as we drove by the factory. She told us the story about this woman who'd worked in the factory, and then she came up with these chocolates, and they're called, I think, Bacci. It's B-A-C-I. They come in a blue package, and they're really good. And Francesca's telling us all about them and how there's a little saying about love inside of each one. So when we stopped at the gas station, we bought a 3-pack, and they were
Delicious.
so good. They were really, really good. We ended up buying another small pack at a different point, and then that ended up being a souvenir big pack for my mother-in-law as well. So those were really good, and that's just the kind of stuff. Again, going on a tour has pros and cons. Could Reese and I have done this trip and gotten ourselves from Florence to Rome? Absolutely. I think we could have done it. But if we were on a train or something, we wouldn't know that story. We wouldn't have known to try those chocolates and enjoyed them so thoroughly. So that was really fun. So then we got to Assisi, and if you watched the other ones, you know, it was just hot. It was hot. Somebody's already commented on some of the Italy videos that they are going on the same exact trip, but they're going in September, and I'm just so jealous because it would just be so much nicer weather, but it was really hot. And so our bus had to park down below, and we have tons of pictures, so I'll start putting those in here and some videos. We had parked down below, like a big parking lot that was for the buses, and then we had to walk up a big hill. So Francesca was our Gate 1 manager, tour manager, but she was not giving us the guided tour. So this was another stop, just like in Venice and just like in Florence, and now that there is a guided tour guide to give us just the information about that area. So his name was Giuseppe, and Reese really liked him. He reminded me kind of like my grandpa, and I felt so bad. He was sweating, so he was like wiping his sweat away. I will say this is one of the places, and I kind of talked about it in our packing videos, you can go back and watch those, but that shoulders and knees did need to be covered. They were very particular about that. I saw lots of, I don't think they're as picky for kids, but we just didn't take the risk and Reese wore pants that day. I saw lots of people, I think what they do, because I saw somebody with like a bluish kind of shawl, and I was like, oh, and then I saw somebody else, and then somebody else, it was a skirt. So I don't know if they're free or if they force you to buy them, but they do have things there on site. They kind of look like a dollar store tablecloth that then you wrap around your shoulders or knees, and I would assume they're not breathable, and it is hot. So go ahead and make sure your shoulders and knees are covered. But yeah, we got our guided tour. Now we have pictures of Assisi, but unfortunately not inside the church itself. They don't allow any pictures, which is really unfortunate because we'd like to show you guys, we'd like to show our family and friends, and also as we've been showing our pictures and videos to family and friends, we're reminded of information that they told us in the tour. And with Giuseppe giving us so much information but us not having the pictures, it's kind of hard to remember all the cool things, and it's not as cool of a story if you don't have a picture to back it up. But I get it, they do that. They did, he encouraged us to take a candle, so they had some free candles, and he's like, take one, you can cut it up, you can give those as souvenirs. So we did get a candle. Again, it was hot. How many times have I said that this video so far? So then the candle, I was just trying, I mean, it was pretty long, and the whole time it would start to like melt this way. So then I would carry it like this, and it would start to melt this way, and probably could have skipped the candle. Yeah. And so after our tour, the tour was probably about an hour and a half. We had about an hour on our own. And as we had pulled into the parking lot, our tour guide, Francesca, had said, okay, so there was some like souvenir shops on the edge of the parking lot, and there was a couple of places to eat. And so she had said, this place is known for their pork belly sandwiches. They're supposed to be really good. That's not something that sounded good to us. And she said, and also they have express pasta. So I thought that meant the other place. So place A, pork belly sausage or sandwiches, place B, express pasta. And then she said, and then there's a restaurant over there, and that's where Giuseppe and I will be having lunch if you want to join us there as well. So we ended the tour up at the church. And like I said, we had about an hour, maybe even a little bit longer. So we went and found, as always, gelato.
Yeah.
We always had to find gelato any place that we went. So we got some gelato, and then we just kind of headed down because we were like, hey, there's food down there. We'll just, that way we're already where the bus is. We never have to worry about like running to catch the bus. So we walked down, we saw where Giuseppe and Francesca were going. Probably should have eaten there. We didn't. And we walked back down. I was like, okay, well, that's the sandwich spot, so we'll go to this spot. And it was just a really, really tiny, I mean, like 4 people could fit inside, but they had coolers displaying different foods and sandwiches that they had, and then they had a menu. So I said, okay, I'll take 2 penne pomodoro. Now, as I've talked about before, in Italy, I don't think our bus driver knew any English, but otherwise, everyone knew English except for this person, and that's fine, obviously. They do not need to know our language in their country. She was like, what? Okay. And so we got it figured out. And then out of the cooler, she takes 2 like legit TV dinners, and she, you know how you do it. She stabs some holes in the plastic and she put them in the microwave. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what we're eating here.
But it was a really good meal.
So then, yes, her son who was working there, and both of them, gosh bless them, they were both sweating so much. Her son brought the food out to us, and it was really good. It was not probably authentic Italian, but it was good. So we had a nice view. I can put the picture of our view from lunch here. We were, again, at the bottom at like the parking lot, kind of looking up into the village and towards the church. So it was a nice lunch. It was just, it was not what I was expecting, but that was okay. It was good. It was good. And then we had a 3-hour bus ride to Rome. So again, we spent about 6 hours in the bus that day. It was a long travel day. Francesca, usually on those days, she would kind of load her speeches up in the morning and talk more, just kind of knowing in the afternoon people are a little bit sleepier and we'd have more quiet time. Then we did stop at a gas station. I think that's where we got our second bout of chocolates because we had enjoyed them so much in the morning. So that was really fun. And then we got to our hotel in Rome, and this was another star hotel. So we'd stayed in a Star Hotels hotel in Florence, and this was Star Hotel Metropole, I think is how you say it. Metropole in Rome. So we'll show you a room tour here. All right, this is our Rome room tour. So we walk into a full-length mirror, which I always appreciate. That was Reese sitting down. Here's the bathroom. This is very much, it's the Star Hotels, which is what we had in Florence. So it's very similar to our Florence bathroom with the same kind of sink and tub. Bidet is back there. Yep, looks pretty much the same. I think we have a better storage in this one. So we have this closet with a light. We didn't have a light before. And some drawers. We didn't have drawers before. We also have this space and this whole thing. Right now it's just our backpacks. We're waiting for our bags. So definitely more storage in this room. We have a much bigger desk as well in this room, which is nice. Our 2 beds. What I really like about this nightstand is it's bigger. I found that when I'm plugging my phone in and have my glasses and a glass of water and I have my fan, I just don't have a lot of room on a nightstand. So the fact that it has drawers and it's bigger, I like. And we are 3 for 3 with views from our Italy room. So when we have a little like courtyard, I don't know, probably wouldn't call that a courtyard. You can see this is a pretty high hotel. Our room number is 314. So if you know that we are on the 4th floor, what we Americans would call the 4th floor. So this will be our final Italian room. Okay, so that was our room in Rome. Pretty nice overall, except for a couple of things. Well, one, this is for all hotels in Italy, or maybe just Italians. How do you wash your face? How? Are you like the actual people that the face wash commercials are made for? Do you like splash water on them and just like, because we did not have a washcloth any of our hotels, and I finally made note of it on this one. No washcloths. So what I would end up doing is using like one end of a hand towel as a washcloth. Like, how are you wiping face wash off your face? I don't know. And then my biggest criticism, and this is specifically for this hotel because it's the only one we had this problem, is there was no outlets next to either side of the bed, neither side. So it was just kind of a little bit tricky. And I know I talked about this, and I'm really glad I took packing video. Things that I'm really glad I took was my portable charger, because the first night I was like, okay, so we had all of our devices charging on the counter, like the desk area. And I decided, I was like, okay, I'll quick charge my watch and then I'll wear my watch. So my alarm will be on my watch. That way I'll know what time it is in the middle of the night when I wake up every 30 minutes or so, because that's how I roll in a hotel. But then this alarm is not powerful enough to wake me up, so I ended up waking up late. So then from then on, I would just try to charge my portable charger during the day, and then at night I would plug my phone into the portable charger next to me. Like, who doesn't have an outlet next to a bed? All that to say, short story long, they didn't have outlets next to the bed. That was annoying. So once we got there and we got settled, we were gonna have another group dinner that night. So we'd had a couple of group dinners so far. It was just gonna be back at the hotel, but we were kind of like, well, like, let's walk around. We had a little bit of time, and we found a gelato spot that was just like a couple blocks away. And Reese gave that one a 9.5 out of 10.
I give a lot of things 9.5.
9.5, but that's pretty high because he wasn't a fan of a lot of the food. So that was a pretty high ranking. Then we went back to the hotel for dinner. So it was nice. We had the whole breakfast room just for our tour group. And we sat with another couple, some teachers from California. And we started with buffalo mozzarella and crepes. I was really excited about that because I've been really wanting like good mozzarella cheese, but it was almost like a ricotta texture. It was really kind of strange, and being in a crepe wasn't my favorite way for cheese to be served. So together we gave that a 2 out of 10. And it's just hard. You're not ordering it, so it's not necessarily going to be to your taste, but somebody has worked hard to prepare it and to serve it to you. And I always just feel bad, like, here you go, like, I don't want this, but also like I didn't order that. So I don't know, it's kind of tricky. And then they gave us beef and spinach. Now I just assumed Reese was not gonna like the beef. He's not a big meat person. I'm not a big meat person. I didn't really like the beef, but I loved the spinach. I love spinach. So the spinach was really good. Surprisingly though,
The beef was very good.
he really liked the beef. So Overall, we gave it an 8 out of 10, which is, I think, one of the highest for a main course meal, especially one that we didn't order. However, meanwhile, this very, very awesome staff at the hotel noticed that Reese had not eaten his crepes, and they were like, this kid's probably not gonna like the beef either. So they offered to make him a cheeseburger before the beef came out. So then he had his plate of beef and spinach and a cheeseburger, and it was enormous. It was it was so big. And then he liked the beef, but he was also, because he's my child, trying to be like kind and eat the cheeseburger also. And they'd asked us how you wanted it done, and I said, well done. And it was definitely pink inside. So, but that was really nice of them. That was so kind. And of course, they also offered to bring him soda. The gentleman at our table does not drink alcohol. They did not offer him soda. But having a kid, they always offer him soda. And then for dessert, we had puff pastry with cream. It was interesting because it was just like they had taken a sheet of puff pastry and cut it into squares or rectangles or whatever, and then layered that with dollops of cream. And the cream part was good. It tasted like whipped cream. But puff pastry, like by itself, isn't great. I mean, it was fine. So we gave that a 7 out of 10. And I should mention, Reese has given his cheeseburger a 7 out of 10 as well.
But it hurt my stomach.
It did kind of hurt his stomach. But then here was one of the best parts of the day. So it's still pretty early. This was an area that as we'd walked around earlier, we saw there was tons of outdoor restaurants. So I was like, okay, I feel safer then, because you're walking like through some seating of a restaurant and then a little bit and then through seating of another. Like, there's lots of people out and about. If you watch the Florence videos, you know that was not true about the area we stayed in Florence. And we went out one night and we didn't feel safe. Not that there was any direct threat, we just didn't feel safe. But I was like, oh, from our walkabout earlier to get gelato, I know that there's lots of restaurants. Let's go out and just kind of explore a little bit. Like, let's see. And this is why one of the million reasons we love it, Italy, is we were walking 3-4 blocks and we're like, oh, there's a really cool church. And I'll put a picture here. I was like, Reese, like, let's take your picture. So then we were like, oh, that's cool. Like, we don't know. It's probably literally 1,000 years old, and we're walking around and we got to the front of the church. And this is how we are going to end this video. Normally I say, see you next time. I do hope we see you next time. Stay tuned. We go to the Vatican Museum. We go to the Colosseum. We go to the Roman Forum. We travel home in the summer of 2022. So stay tuned for those. But I'm going to end with what we just happened across. A couple blocks from our hotel. It wasn't something we were told to find. We just happened across it at 9 p.m. on a Wednesday night. See you next time.